Okay, again, you should have your Mishnah booklet. We're now on page 5, continuing with another short Mishnah that is very relevant to you guys. Let's do the words first. Word number 1 is a tinok. So a tinok, right, young child. In modern Hebrew, they usually mean a baby, but in the Mishnah, it doesn't mean just a baby. It could be someone who's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. A tinok is a young child. Number 2 we had before. Ana means to afflict, which means to deprive of food. Like we had in Tanakh, we actually had that the Egyptians wanted to afflict the Jews. So ana is to afflict, meaning to deprive pleasure, to avoid pleasure. Chanach means to train someone to do something, to train. It also means to educate. Mechanchin means we educate or we train someone. As we'll soon see how that word is used in the Mishnah. Lifnei means before. Shana is obviously a word that is very relevant now. Shana Tova, Shana is a year. And Shnatayim is 2 years. Bishvil means so that. Ragil means to be used to something, to get used to something, to be used. Okay, so now let's talk about this concept before we take a look at the Mishnah. There's a concept called chinuch, which means education, it means training, which means that the Torah, don't write anything yet, let's just listen to the explanation, then we'll see what to write. The Torah gave mitzvot to people who are adults. Only adults are obligated to keep mitzvot. What's an adult according to our tradition? So you guys know, a girl over the age of 12 is mature enough to do mitzvot, and a boy over the age of 13 is already considered an adult to do mitzvot. That's on a Torah level. So somebody who's 12, a female over 12, and a male over 13, they have a Torah obligation to keep the mitzvot. But came along the rabbis and they said, you know, it's important that a little bit before that time, somebody should start learning how to do mitzvot. It's like training. So that when you become 13 or you become 12 years old, you'll know exactly what to do. Because if you wait till the day when you're bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah to start learning the mitzvot, then you're not going to be able to do them for months, maybe years. So therefore the Chachamim said that when you get to a certain age, you should start practicing. So that's a rabbinic obligation. And that's what chinuch is. Chinuch is a rabbinic obligation that a child who's under 12 or 13 should start practicing how to do the mitzvot. Okay, it's a rabbinic obligation that a child, before their bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, should practice how to do the mitzvot. Okay, so on a practical level, that means that, let's say, when a child is, let's say, 6, 7 years old, they can start learning how to say a blessing over food, right? Or, for example, when a child is maybe 9 or 10 years old, they can start learning how to shake the lulav and etrog. Okay, or for example, a child that is 8, 9 years old can start practicing how to say Shema. When you guys were in 2nd, 3rd grade, you started learning how to recite the Shema. That's a mitzvah. But when you are that age, you're not obligated by the Torah to do it. You're doing it for practice. Okay, so that's the idea of chinuch, that the rabbis require a child to start practicing how to do the mitzvot. They're not obligated by the Torah, but they have a mitzvah from the rabbis. And it's interesting that the age, the mitzvah depends on the mitzvah. In other words, for different mitzvot, there's different ages. So for example, boys don't start wearing tefillin when they're 9 or 10 years old, because tefillin require a lot of maturity and a lot of concentration and so on. So therefore we do it very, very close to bar mitzvah time. But for example, doing all the mitzvot like sitting in the sukkah or visiting the sick or doing acts of kindness, that you can start doing when you're much younger, or saying a blessing. So each mitzvah, depending on, has a different age limit. Okay, so that's what chinuch is. Chinuch is that the rabbis require children to start practicing how to do mitzvot, but not that they're obligated by the Torah. Okay, so now let's go look at the Mishnah. We're going to divide it and work on the Mishnah. So like this. Atinok en me'anin otam b'yom kippurim. Okay, and we stop here. Which means children, we don't deprive them of food on Yom Kippur. Which means that children on Yom Kippur should eat their normal food. We don't deprive them. We don't deny them food. We don't say, you're 7 years old, learn how to fast on Yom Kippur. We don't do that. That's wrong. But then continues the Mishnah, the next part of the Mishnah. But we train them a year before, lifnei shana, a year before. Before what? Before they're required to do so. Lifnei shana time, or 2 years before they are required to do so. And we stop over here. Bishvil sheyu regilim b'mitzvot, so that they should get used to doing mitzvot. Okay? So one more time. Children, young children, we do not keep them away from eating, meaning they should eat their normal meals on Yom Kippur. But, says the Mishnah, Val, mechanchin otam, we do train them lifnei shana, a year before they become bar mitzvah or bat mitzvah, v'lifnei shana time, or 2 years before. And we'll see when is it 1 year, when is it 2 years. Stop, shana time, stop. And then, bishvil sheyu regilim mitzvot. We do this in order for them to get used to doing the mitzvot. So that's divide the Mishnah. Number 3 is now we're going to translate each line. Okay, number 1 is that you can write the following. That children, right, young children, right, we do not keep them away from eating on Yom Kippur. Right? So it would be wrong to say to an 8-year-old child, a 7-year-old child, no, you can't eat this Yom Kippur, it's a fast day. That's not correct. But, number 3, but we do train them a year or 2 before, so that they will be used to do mitzvot. Okay? All right, so now we have some review questions. So make sure that we understand the Mishnah properly. So what are we not to do? We're not to deprive, we're not allowed to deny food to young children. So what does that mean? What should children do then? They should eat their normal meals. On Yom Kippur, they should eat normally. Okay? So this Mishnah is very relevant to you guys, and we'll soon see how. So the halacha, the law is like this. When we apply the laws of the Mishnah, it's like this. Children under 9 years of age, okay, they should not fast at all. Okay, they should eat their normal meals. Whatever they eat, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, they eat normally. Right? Now, I don't know about you, but I remember when I was little, so we used to, try to compete and try to fast, and that's wrong. Before you're 9 years old, you're not supposed to do that. The Mishnah considers that to be unhealthy. Okay, number 2 though, children that are 9, 10, or 11 years old, so they should fast a little bit. What does that mean, a little bit? So it depends on how strong the person is. If you're 9 years old and you want to fast from the night until the morning, till breakfast, that's okay. If you want to go till 11, till 12, that's okay. If you want to go till 1, 2, that's okay. But they should not try to complete the fast day. That they should not do. But now we get to something very important. However, girls that are 11 years old, right? Since this is a year before they become bat mitzvah, they're 11 years old already. So it's a year before bat mitzvah. So even though the Torah does not require them to fast because they're not bat mitzvah yet, but they are allowed to, and they are encouraged, try to complete the fast day if you can, if you feel well. A girl, when she's 11 years old, since this is a year before she's bat mitzvah, she should try to fast the whole Yom Kippur. Boys, as we know, are a little bit different because they become at the age of bar mitzvah at 13. So for boys that are 12, so again, since this is the year before they become bar mitzvah, so the year before, they should try to fast the entire day of Yom Kippur if they're able to. But again, if it's before 1 year before your age, for a girl if it's under 11, a boy that is under 12, they should not fast the whole day. What they are allowed to do is fast for a few hours. Let's say till the morning of Yom Kippur or till lunchtime, that's it. But somebody who's under 9, they are not allowed to fast at all.